The Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, a magical tale. Once upon a time, in a faraway kingdom, there lived a kind and gentle queen. She had everything, love, respect, and beauty, but her heart longed for one thing, a baby. One cold winter's day, as she sat knitting by an ebony-framed window, a tiny snowbird landed nearby, surprising her. In the moment of distraction, she pricked her finger. A single drop of her blood fell onto the snowy windowsill, and right then she whispered a wish to the sky. "O snow spirits, I wish for a daughter with skin as white as snow, lips as red as roses, and hair as black as ebony wood." As if the snow heard her wish, a miracle happened. The queen became pregnant. But sadly, as the baby grew, the queen grew weaker. The king stayed close by her side, filled with hope. Finally, on a sunny morning, the queen gave birth to a beautiful baby girl, just as she had wished. The king held the child lovingly and named her Snow White, but the queen, too tired and sick, held her baby one last time. "Promise me," she whispered to the king, "you'll always protect our daughter, and never be sad without me." Tears filled the king's eyes as he said goodbye to his beloved queen. Years passed. The king raised Snow White with love, but he was busy ruling the kingdom and knew she needed a mother's care. He remarried a woman who was beautiful, but oh no, she was also vain, cruel, and very jealous. This new queen had a magic mirror that told the truth. Every day she asked, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest one of all?" And the mirror would reply, "You, my queen, are the fairest of all." But one day, the mirror said something different. "My queen, you are fair, it's true, but Snow White is even fairer than you." Furious with jealousy, the wicked queen ordered her huntsman, "Take Snow White deep into the forest, end her life, and bring me her heart as proof." But the kind huntsman couldn't harm her. "Run, Snow White," he cried. "Run far, far away, and never return." Snow White ran deep into the dark forest, scared and alone. Strange trees whispered in the wind, and thorns scratched her dress. Just when she thought she couldn't go on, a group of friendly birds tugged at her scarf. They led her to a tiny, cozy cottage hidden in the woods. Inside, everything was small. 7 chairs, 7 little beds, 7 plates with yummy food. Hungry and tired, Snow White ate a nibble from each plate and fell fast asleep in one of the beds. That night, the owners of the house returned. 7 cheerful dwarfs who worked in the mountains mining for gold. "Someone's been eating my food. Someone's been sitting in my chair. Someone's sleeping in my bed." When they saw Snow White, they were amazed by her beauty. In the morning, she woke up with a fright, but the dwarfs were friendly and kind. "Please don't be scared," said the eldest. "What's your name?" "I'm Snow White," she said, and told them her whole story. The dwarfs listened closely and offered her a home. "If you'll cook and clean and look after our cottage, you may stay as long as you like." Snow White agreed happily and made the little house her new home. But back in the castle, the queen asked her mirror again, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of all?" Snow White, who lives with the 7 dwarfs beyond the mountains, is still the fairest of them all. The queen was furious. She brewed a wicked potion and made a poison apple that looked shiny and sweet, but was deadly. Disguised as an old woman, she visited Snow White's cottage. "Sweet girl," she said, "please share your bread with an old woman, and I'll give you a beautiful apple." Snow White, being kind-hearted, gave the old woman bread and took the apple. But the moment she took a bite, she collapsed. The queen cackled, "Now no one is fairer than me." When the dwarfs returned, they found Snow White lifeless. Heartbroken, they placed her in a glass coffin on the mountaintop. Even though she seemed gone, her cheeks stayed rosy and her face looked peaceful, like she was just asleep. One day, a prince passing by saw the glass coffin. When he read her name, he gasped, "This is the girl I've seen in my dreams." He begged the dwarfs to let him take her, promising to honor her forever. Sadly, the dwarfs agreed. But as the prince's men lifted the coffin, it jostled, and the piece of poisoned apple popped out from Snow White's throat. She gasped, opened her eyes, and looked around. "Where am I?" she whispered. "With me," the prince said softly. "Will you come to my kingdom and be my queen?" Snow White smiled and said yes, but asked to find her father first. Together, Snow White and the prince returned to her kingdom. They discovered her father locked away by the wicked queen in a secret room. The prince freed him and banished the cruel queen forever. Soon after, Snow White and her prince had a grand wedding at the palace. The dwarfs danced with joy, the kingdom cheered, and the king gave them his blessing. And from that day on, they all lived happily ever after. The end.